Snow White isn't the only film this week that stars Rachel Zegler, because the next film on our list is Y2K, the new A24 horror comedy directed by Kyle Mooney in his feature directorial debut. This also features Julian Dennison from Hunt for the Wilder People and Jaeden Martell from Knives Out, so a very promising cast. But my understanding is that general reactions to this have been fairly mixed. So Jake, how did you get along with Y2K when you went to see it earlier this week?
Now, Ruben, you were born in what year?
I was born in June 1999, so I just about was around for the millennium bug fiasco of 2000.
You're 1999, I knew that, I just wanted you to say it. And I was 1998, and this film is for people who were teenagers during 1999. It is all 1999. All the language, all the dress sense, all the music, everything is so 90s. It's so cool, bruh. That's how half the people talk in this movie. Did I like it? It's basically Superbad meets... Well, it's basically more like This Is the End, but Superbad. So those two movies slammed together with a similar sort of level of humour as well, the same sort of style. Very adolescent sex jokes and awkward comedy and stuff like that, and weed humor. There's lots of drug humor in this as well. Is this film any good? Now that's a question. Rachel Zegler's good in everything, I think. I'm just going to put that out there. She's absolutely fine, given not much to do. This film is as bland in its story beats as Snow White was, as Alto Nights was. For this budding coming of age comedy, it has all the same beats, but also with a few apocalyptic teenagers must save the day sort of approach as well. So all the beats are a hit. It's almost like they had a sheet on the side when Kyle Mooney was writing the script. Oh, that has to happen here. That has to happen here. That has to happen here. And it is really quite formulaic in that regard. The nerdy character wants to get with the really popular girl, but secretly she's a cool hacker.
Whoa! Who would have seen that coming?
Who would have seen that coming? But you can also say, well, is it a parody on that idea, the tropes? Is it a parody on the formula? Does it subvert it enough to make it seem like that is the point? And there is actually a few jokes that work in this, which is that Rachel Zegler's secret hacker cool girl character has this great sequence where she's hacking in, but then she uses phrases like, I make this look good, but done humorously, or, hold on tight, like they did in all those hacker movies. And I thought those jokes actually really worked, because that's like, oh, it is a parody on the idea. The problem is that everything else is just played so straight. The nerdy kids go to a cool party, but it's like, we're not getting as good a version of that as Superbad. Why these characters are awkward and unliked, it's touched upon, but it's not really developed in the performances. I think the performances all round are good, apart from one, which are good all round for what they have been asked to do. For example, people might think I'm talking about Fred Durst, who, spoilers, shows up in this movie, the famous frontman of Limp Bizkit, but he actually gives a rather charming and enjoyable performance that is integral to the plot of the film. That is another fun moment. There's a lot of love for that sort of rap rock, which is so often maligned in sort of the modern context, and even in the day, even though it was incredibly popular. But it is seen as a saving force, which is really quite interesting to see. It's like a recontextualization of some of the goofier moments of the 90s. It just sort of falls into this trap of being a bit bland, even though it's trying to be really quite out there with its Y2K premise, which is great. The absolute hysteria that surrounded something that obviously wasn't going to happen. I find it quite funny how they represent the robot apocalypse. They just have people in these really daft suits half the time looking like robots, and it kind of looks a bit like an episode of Power Rangers, which I enjoyed.
That actually sounds quite charming, I have to say. Does it have a little bit of a Doctor Who vibe? That's kind of what I'm hearing.
No, that's the thing. This is where it kind of still fails. It's like what I said about it being a parody of the formula, of this entire formula, is that it doesn't go too far in one direction, so it just sort of settles in a rather bland space. It's frustrating, because I really did want to enjoy it, because like you, I really did like the way the trailer did. I like the use of Chumbawamba, which also makes a appearance. That I get knocked down and I get back up again. This film certainly has been knocked down, and it's not getting back up again, I can tell you that. Kyle Mooney also shows up in this And his performance is absolutely agonizing. It's so, I'm the director and I'm playing a stoner and I was on SNL and I can do a funny voice. It doesn't work. It's just annoying. There's so many jokes where you're like, they obviously subvert some of the tropes. They're trying to do some action tropes that then get subverted for comedy, but you can tell exactly what's going to happen. I'll not spoil which character it is, but there's a character who starts looking all cool and martial arts and actiony and then gets quickly dispatched and killed instantly, as you'd expect. It's such an obvious joke to make, and they make it. This is a comedy that could have existed in the late 2000s, I think, and would have done a little better. For this sort of generation, it doesn't quite work because it's all the most annoying parts of the 90s on steroids. You know, everyone talks like MTV, and everyone is such an idiot for some reason. Everyone is stupid and pretentious in their own way. I enjoy the young cast. I like Jaeden Martell, and I love Julian Dennison. I think Hunt for the Wilder People is one of the greatest films ever made. I think I'll put that out there. It makes me feel, which is always good. I can understand why it hasn't done well. I don't think it's as bad as people are saying. It just falls into the line that a lot of these films do, that it is just bland, and therefore you can get a lot out of it. There's a lot of creativity in place, and the young cast do well with what they're given, because it is quite a young cast. It's nice to see that people who are not 38 are playing all these high schoolers. We're back to sort of early 20s who kind of look younger than they are, playing these roles. Tim Heidecker shows up, and to me that's always a plus, but again, he's not really given much to do. Nothing truly funny, and the emotional scenes don't really work. I don't think the love story really works very well. Maybe it's worth a watch to see what you think, Ruben. As an ode to the 90s, like the Clinton administration, I wish this film had been impeached.